did lose a ton of talent. And I want to start by saying, too, like, when they first hired Mick Cronin in 2019, I was
And we are live. What's going on, everybody? Episode 5 of the Get a Bucket podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, and my guy, Kev Lucas. What is going on, brother?
Man, season been kicked off. Life is good. I can't complain. We've had some good games so far. We're going to get into the Champions Classic. We've had some upsets already. It's been crazy a little bit already. A lot of people was complaining about the early slate, but it came and went by pretty quick. But man, I can't complain, man. We back at it. I think this is episode 5 now, if I'm not mistaken.
Episode 5, bro. We 5 in, bro. We already said, they say after, if you get past that second one, you're doing something. So we passed it. We are at 5 right now. And like you said, we got a good show for you guys. We're gonna dive into the Champions Classic, some upsets, like upsets that like you don't really see, like upsets from schools that me and Kev were like, hold up, this school is from what? They have this school is where? We had no clue some of these schools are. So we're gonna dive in. We're gonna dive into teams off to some early struggles. We're going to dive into the Champions Class. We're going to talk about Kev's Michigan State Spartans. We're going to talk about my Duke Blue Devils, how they looking so far. We're going to get into some commitments we saw in the last few days and a lot of college basketball. But Kev, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about teams struggling. I'm going to talk about a particular team, new coach, Kenny Payne, out in Louisville. Now, will there be some ups and downs, Louisville, right? First year coach, adapting system, players. We knew that's gonna happen. But this Louisville's 0-3 for the first time since before me and you were born. Definitely before you were born. And definitely like a few years before I was born. 86, 87 is the last time they started off 0-3. Like Louisville has been when we talk about the top programs in the last 2 decades, Kev, Louisville's in that top 25, top 20, right? They've been a Final Four team and all that. Like, they've been a very good program. Obviously, Rick Pitino was there for a long time and had that program really doing good. So, but 0-3, recent loss to App State. Now, we know when that App State just doesn't want to, App State football, App State basketball, they're the kings of the upset, So, but it has been a rough start for the Cardinals, and obviously they lost out on a certain DJ Wagner. Some people thought he may be going there, but he winds up going to Kentucky, the rivals. Coach Cal gets another on Louisville. But Kev, it's bad. I mean, they lost to. All right, this is a school I don't even know. I couldn't tell you where they're from. So. They lost to I can't even say the name. It was Bellarmine. Okay, they lost to a school called Bellarmine. Okay,
it's in Louisville too.
It's in Louisville too. Okay. Oh, and that's the game that you buy. That's essentially was like you buy and like, all right, we're gonna win this game. Right, we put paying you guys so we could whoop that ass, and it backfired on them. And I think we've had the discussion, and you hear a lot of. We talk about the early season scheduling and all that, like, and I heard a lot of people talked about this on watching a lot of like college basketball shows and all that, and talking about like, all right, how do you schedule your do you cupcake it up? Do you go you start off with a bang? How do you do that? And some I remember watching one post, they're like, I just want wins, so whatever gets me a win, I'm cool, because that's the end of the day. Coaches, that's how they get fired or not. Extensions based off wins, fired based off losses. That. So you want the win, but there's always that one chance that you could slip up and lose. And this is what happened to Louisville. They lost, and obviously we're talking about them. They're 0-3. how do we feel? I mean, I'm a Kenny Payne guy. He coached my New York Knicks, and this team severely misses him. And we like I said, we knew it was going to be a struggle at the beginning, but we knew, good things are going to happen for Kenny Payne, I believe. But let's just talk about the early season struggles for the Ville, and it's tough. It's tough, and we talked about the ACC as a whole being kind of down, and
Whew.
it may be it may be in worse shape because another team we're going to be talking about real soon is in the ACC too, and they're struggling too. But let's talk about the Ville right now, Kev, because um, it's not the Ville old. They're struggling right now. So let's talk about Ville. What's going on right now.
I want to first start off by saying that I'm praying for all Louisville fans out there, and just know that this is temporary. This is not going to last forever. I promise you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just said we believe in Kenny Payne. Kenny Payne is going to get it together. Y'all have to give him time, though, Louisville fans. Y'all have been down for a minute now, and y'all cannot beat these FBI scandals. And Louisville's just been whatever's below the gutter is where Louisville's been as a basketball program in the last ever since Rick Pitino walked out them doors and they got him out of there. And to me, the biggest problem right now is that if I'm being honest, and I say this with all due respect, they only have one real Division One player on this team, and his name is L. Ellis. And
Yeah,
outside of that,
that's
they
it.
don't have anybody like that. And it's kind of KP's fault because, when you come into a coaching situation, you can't really hit the ground running, recruiting hard like that. But you got to hit that transfer portal nowadays.
Transfer
Like, it's
portal,
there.
yo.
Like, and it's dudes that I promise you, they wouldn't even care if they're at Louisville. It's dudes that are just hungry to play Division One basketball, whether they're at the JUCO level or wherever the case may be. They're just unranked high school seniors, whatever the case is. You have to figure it out. And so I'm not going to go too hard on KP because, like I mentioned a couple episodes ago, I give first year head coaches like 3 years to figure it out. And I believe firmly in my heart
Mm-hmm.
that KP is going to figure it out. But with that being said, it's the way that they've been losing. So I'll be honest though, Bellarmine is not that bad of a loss because they were actually supposed to make the tournament last year, but they weren't supposed to. They were supposed to make it, but they weren't allowed to because it's a rule that when you jump from D2 to D1, you're not eligible to play in the tournament until like 3 years down the line, which is insane to me because
Yeah.
they definitely would have upset somebody last year if they made the tournament.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
that's
kind
not
of
a
silly
bad
rule.
loss. Wright State, another good program, you can't lose to them. And then the way that they lost to Appalachian State, they literally had the ball down one. Dude is dancing with his defender. He gets into the lane. He gets the shot off, or he shoots the layup, and everybody thinks that he made it for the game winner. And
Mm-hmm.
he's celebrating. Whole team jumps off the bench and is going crazy. And then the refs review it. It's called no good. And I'm just like, oh my God. The way that they've been losing these games is probably the worst part about it. So, again, Louisville fans, y'all just have to give KP time. KP was the right hire. I firmly believe in my heart. But
Agree.
it's going to take some time, just like any program, and especially Louisville. Like, the expectations are high, but they got to come down a little bit because, again, you guys have been down. And ACC, we'll talk about it in a minute, but the ACC needs Louisville to be good. Why? Because Louisville has been forever and ever a powerhouse program, and right now it's just
Mm-hmm.
like they struggling, man. So I still have faith in KP, but again, y'all gotta have patience, man. And if you don't have patience with KP, then I promise the administration's gonna make a dumb move. Hopefully, theoretically, I hope they don't fire him and then they just hire an even worse coach because KP is that. But again, luckily he already has that community support. He went there, all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things, what it takes. But it just sucks that he has to go through this right now, man. Because a lot of coaches they get put in way better situations. But I respect him for taking them. I mean, it was his choice to take him. I'm not gonna sit here and
Mm-hmm.
make it seem like he didn't, but again, man, I can't stress it enough. Just give KP time, man.
Yeah, yeah, and it just seems like right now it's L. Ellis or bust. Like if he does not
Exactly.
perform, like, and even didn't he have? I think he had 29 against App State. Like he had a good game, and it's just like they don't have the talent right now, and you know they got a couple good recruits coming in this class. So like you said, you got to give a coach. We've talked about that in previous episodes. You got to give these coaches time.
Yep.
So, but it's tough. It's tough right now in the Ville, and you know, especially when you see Kentucky doing their thing, and then they just got the recruit that picked you, picked them over you, and DJ Wagner. So, it's tough right now. It's early, but you know, um, this is a long-term process, and I trust KP that he'll get it done. I still believe he's the right guy for the job, and tough situation, but I think he'll get over it. But definitely a
100%.
tough start. Definitely, and 1 point losses too. Three. It's
That's the
not
worst
just you
part.
have the worst start to since 86, 87, but it's like you lost 1 point games. So that's just like a couple possessions here and there that's can be the difference between 0-3 and 3-0. And we're not even talking about Louisville. Like if they're 3-0 or even they're 2-1, they lose to App State. They'd be like, all right, that's App State. We know App State, right? We just,
Yep.
but and then we're not even thinking about Louisville right now. But 3 straight losses, to a couple teams that you're like, whoa, okay, like shouldn't be losing to teams like that. But and by one, close games and all that. It's tough, but I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be all right in the long haul. So tough times for the Ville, but I think they'll be better. Another 0-3 team in the ACC, Florida State. No, see, I could be petty. I can't stand Florida State.
Oh
I'm a
man.
Miami football fan, and so I can't stand from that on that aspect. And they're on ACC. And I'm a Duke basketball fan, and I can't stand them. But so this is, I'm not too mad that they 0-3. Whatever. But it another team that obviously we all know about the Baba stuff and how that's kind of hurting them, and we're seeing how that's hurting them right now. But we had talked about like they lost to Stenson. Like we that was another school. Like, all right, where the hell is Stenson? Where is Stenson at? Like we got to look in the globe with Stenson. And the UCF, they lose by 14 to them. Then they lose to Troy. Like I said, Florida State's been one of the perennial teams in the ACC last few years. I mean, they've given, they're known for their length and all that, and defense. They given Duke a lot of issues, UNC issues, and all that. But it's different right now. Baba, not having him there is definitely shown, with their 3 losses right now. So what's going on with FSU right now? Obviously, like I said, Baba's out, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't look right at all.
I'll say the biggest thing is that if I'm keeping it a bug with y'all, which I always do, but they don't have a point guard right now. They're
Mm-hmm.
severely lacking a point guard in the worst way. And theoretically, I thought it was going to be Caleb Mills because Caleb Mills coming over from Houston a year ago, he was a dog at Houston. I believe he's originally from North Carolina. He wanted to get closer to home for personal and family reasons. We respected it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
at Houston, he didn't really have to be a point guard. He just had to be a bucket getter. They asked him to just
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
buckets. And he comes to Florida State, and now it's like you're playing next to Jalen Warley, who struggled, coming out from Pennsylvania. Matthew Cleveland, he has all the tools to put it together, but it's just like you mentioned, the Baba Miller situation. They got a couple other, teeny tiny injuries that's kind of been messing with them too. But again, man, we cannot overstress and understate the importance of having a real floor general, and they're lacking that in the worst way. And another thing too, as much as I hate to say this, because I'm a big fan of Leonard Hamilton. Like I love what Leonard Hamilton has
Yeah.
done with that program. They produce, a one and done pretty much yearly, aside from last year. And they just have like in the past couple of years, they haven't really done a great job of developing the dudes that have been in the program for the 3-4 years. They get
Mm-hmm.
the one and dones, the Scotty Barnes, the Malik Beasleys, the Jonathan Isaacs, the list goes on. But you look at the guys that have been there. Anthony Polite, I don't even want to call names, but Anthony Polite never really got better. A couple other guys, Wyatt Wilkes, didn't really get better, and that's been a problem. And I want Ham to succeed because, again, he's really, with Louisville being down, he's kind of been that program that's risen up and kind of
Yep.
carried the ACC, if we're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
now it's just like, this was supposed to be a big year. I was high on them going to here, and I,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to admit that I was wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I, I wanted it
No,
to
you're
be
right.
all good, but it's just like, you don't have a point guard, y'all not going to compete on
No.
any given level.
Nope. And Matthew Cleveland too. Someone like we had talked about a few episodes ago. Like I liked him a lot in the draft last year. And his numbers right now are below what he was averaging last year. So they need him to step up, and that you figured Baba out, he would be the biggest beneficiary of that. We talked about him like he's gonna be able to have to step up for them, and he hasn't yet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so he like you said, I mean he's averaging 8 right now. I'm putting up his stats right now. He's averaging 8 shooting close to 48% and all that, but we wanted to see the perimeter shooting, right? That's something we needed to see from him, because last year I think he shot like 18% or whatever, 17-18% last year. Right now he's not taking a lot of I think he's taking 1 or 2 threes and all that. So the perimeter game is not there from what scouts wanted to see from him. Why he took his name out of the draft. We haven't seen it. Like I said, it's 3 games. I understand, but but we're talking about it right now, and so they need that, and it seems like the defense that we've seen from a Leonard Hamilton team isn't there right now, which is kind of weird, because that's what we expect,
Mm-hmm.
at the very least. So it's definitely a struggle for them right now, and I don't know if the Baba stuff is affecting this team, you know, um, just the chemistry and just the BS behind all that, if that's affecting the team and all that, but it's not good. It's not good right now. It's tough right now for them to get a bucket. It's tough for them to get a bucket right now. The guys they need to get a bucket aren't getting one. So, it's early, and we patience. Yeah, we know, but you don't expect this. 0-3, and like you said, as a whole, the ACC is.
Ooh,
Hmm. I mean, I don't
down,
remember.
man.
I don't remember the ACC, but we talked about this prior to the season started. We felt like the ACC is kind of, like, yeah, UNC was in the national championship, the runner up, but like we knew had their struggles last year, and we knew there could be some struggles this year, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they just had a game that I forgot who they played, but they only won by like 4 or 6 points. It was a struggle for them. So they haven't looked as dominant as the number one team in the country should be. So, ACC, do you think FSU can turn it around, or do you just think it could be a tough year for them, especially with Baba out to what, January, February?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but I think with the ACC being down, they're gonna have a chance to do it, and
Yeah,
if they're
that
wise, they're
helps.
gonna have to capitalize on that. Because when we really look at it, I know we'll get into Duke. Like you said, North Carolina has been struggling a little bit. They just have not been shooting the ball that well. But outside of that, Virginia Tech is okay. Wake
Mm-hmm.
Forest okay. NC State is NC
Yeah.
State. Virginia is another key. I haven't really seen too much of Virginia yet, but they're supposed to be good. Everybody loves to talk about them, but they're one of them teams that got to show us to really prove it to us. So
Yeah.
FSU, they have a chance in front of them. It's not bad. Like losing to UCF, your boy Johnny Dawkins has done an excellent job down there. That's not a terrible loss. But lose Stetson and
Yeah.
Troy,
You can't lose that. You can't do that.
you can't lose them, man. So I
And
want
and
to
they
say
got
that they will.
they got Florida next too, man. And
And look,
Florida
Florida
just
just
had a bad
lost.
loss.
Exactly. So they gonna come in with high intention. It's already a rivalry game. They
That's a
gonna come in like,
rivalry
yeah,
game too,
this
yeah,
is
man.
personal. So
That's
again,
a
I
that
want to say they're gonna do it, but I'm not. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, and just like if you just look at some of their defensive metrics and all that, like it's not good. And like we said, like that's what they've kind of pride themselves on, and they're like in the 300s in a lot of defensive categories. So like they got to pick up the defensive intensity. If that's not there, they've never really been. Leonard Hamilton's never really been known for having, being an offensive guru.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything on the defensive side. But if the defense is getting cooked and they ain't doing nothing, they're giving up open shots and all that. It's tough, and that's why they're 0-3 right now. So they definitely got to pick it up. Big game against Florida. Like I said, that's a rivalry game. You know how they take that down there. It is intense, even in college basketball. But we'll see what happens, because, like I said, Florida just lost. You know, so
FAU.
to FAU, so another team that lost to, we know where FAU is, but it's like
Yep.
we're seeing a lot of that this year. We're seeing a lot of that this year. So interesting, 2-0-3 teams. All right. A team we liked a lot, team I know I liked a lot that had in the Final Four, TCU. Okay. Now they're 2-1. They're 2-1, but watch the first game. They win by 1. They get Arkansas Pine Bluff. Okay. All right. Okay. Second game, Lamar. It was 11-point game. I think they'll favor by like 20 plus points. Closer than it should be, but you're like, all right, I get that. I'm watching. I'm like, okay. It's like, well, and then all right, Miles is not playing. It's Northwestern State, and they lose to not Northwestern, not Northwestern in the Big Ten. They lost to Northwestern State, and I know their best players weren't playing. Get it? I get it. I do get it. But man, that's tough. That's tough for a team that we expected to be potentially. And for me, I had them in the Final Four. I thought it. At least Elite Eight, Sweet 16 type of team. That's a tough Northwestern State. Northwestern State. That's a tough loss, and they just haven't looked crisp all year. And I know you have some stuff that you want to say about their head coach, who's had his ups and downs. Right, he was at Pitt. Right, what was he at Pitt?
Yep.
Before. So he, we had some good teams at Pitt too. So, floor is yours. Let us know what's going on with TCU, because it hurts me that TCU is off to not a good start so far.
The two biggest things with them, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. First thing is that, as you mentioned, without Damian Ball, especially, they live or die with Mike Miles. And like in theory, that sounds amazing. He was, I believe he was preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. Like it all sounds great, but exactly, good teams and great teams, they don't just rely on one player. And I know I have Eddie Lampkin. Damian Ball hasn't played because he's been suspended because he hired, like, I guess, an NBA agent, and
he hired an agent. Yeah, that's a weird situation. Like, what, he hired agent before, and he has to get suspended for at least 3 games, something like that. Yeah,
something
dumb
stupid.
NCAA stuff.
And Damian Ball is a hell of a guard too. I love him at Memphis. I believe
Mm-hmm.
he's from Memphis too, actually, and I love him at TCU. Like, he's a perfect complementary guard next to Mike Miles. But outside of that, the second thing is that they don't have no real perimeter shooting like that. That's a major issue. It's Big 12, where they play some of the best defense in the country because you got teams like Texas and Texas Tech and Kansas. They keep you out of the lane, so eventually you're gonna have to knock down shots. If you want to win big time games,
they're shooting 18% from 3. Kev, 18%. I think me and you could probably, shoot at least 17.
Sure.
Yeah, a little something. But I mean, 7. Let me get the exact number. It was something crazy I remember. All right, yeah, they're shooting 19%. 14 to 74 from 3 right now.
And it's like, you just can't win games like that, man. Not in today's game. Because again, Texas Tech, they love to take charges. They take pride in being on every single dribble penetration and being able to take a charge. And I'm looking at it like, dog, they don't really have a knockdown shooter like that, if we're being honest. So they have to play inside out. They got to get their 3-point looks from, rim penetration, get into the rack and then kicking it out. You can't just start your possessions off trying to set up shooters because they don't have a knockdown shooter like that. Like, I'm just being honest. And so with that, like, they concern me a lot. Like, if I'm just taking it from this first couple weeks of the season, I like Baylor. Baylor was my pick to win the Big 12 originally, but I like what I see from Kansas. I know we'll get into them in a second. I like what we seen tonight from Texas dominating Gonzaga, and that's probably it right there. And I mentioned Kansas, but it's just like, you're not winning if you can't knock down some shots, bro. And it's really just as simple as that. And I probably like Texas Tech better than them, so they got to figure it out, man. They really do, because you cannot live or die with just one player.
Kev, there are, I believe, 363 D1 schools. Do you know where they're ranked in 3-point shooting right now?
No, I don't even want to know. But tell us.
They're 349th.
Oh my goodness.
300, and they're tied actually with Jackson State. Like the teams that are in that range are teams that you expect. It's the lower tier. There's UMKC. I don't even know what school that is. There's Austin P. There's Milwaukee. There's
Missouri.
Missouri. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Northern Iowa, Jacksonville. The lower tier schools.
Yeah.
TCU should not be there. It should, and this is a concern I had, but I didn't think it'd get to this level. Like, and if you take Mike Miles' numbers out, his shooting, and he missed the last game, so the numbers, I think he's like 5 or 10 or 4 or 10 from three. You take him out, it's even worse. They're literally probably, they can't be worse than the last team. The last team is literally 0%, so can't get worse than that. But they're at the bottom, and that's just not good. They have to figure a way to be able to create better shots and all that, especially without Mike. If Mike's out, then this team is just like it's not good. It's not good, and it's sad to say because it's a team I thought was a Final Four team. But they have to improve the perimeter shooting, or else especially when we come tournament time. Like we expect the team tournament time. We know you don't shoot in tournament, you get bounced in the first round. Don't matter if you're how big of how higher of seed you are, you get bounced. So it's like they got to figure it out. they got to figure it out fast. They have to figure it out because it's bad. It's bad. I didn't realize it'd be this bad, the perimeter shooting, but it is god awful.
And that's
it is
my
god
thing.
awful.
Is like it would be a whole different story if this kind of came to light in the beginning of Big 12 play, but because it's happening in the first 3 games,
yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm kind of jumping off the bandwagon already.
yeah, like it's bad, dude. It's bad. It's bad, and like if one of the sites I really like, Butter I can't say the word. I'm horrible with names and all that, but it's a site I like to use a lot. They dropped them all the way to 56. They dropped them all the way to 56, and that just shows like you can't shoot. It's bad, and it could get worse. Obviously, they need Mike back, and once Mike's there, he'd be able to, alleviate pressure. But they have to shoot the ball better. Like you 2 of 21 from 3 versus Northwestern State, 8 of 30. Like just some bad shooting performances. But to me, Kev, it's kind of simple. You can't shoot, get to the basket then. It's that simple. You can't shoot. You're playing inferior opponents, right? Theoretically, you're playing inferior opponents. You're a top 10, top 15 team. Get to the basket. And I think we've seen that a lot in basketball. Like they just want to hit the three, shoot three, shoot three, shoot three. That's what they chucking them. But it's like, Kev, we know if we slumping, right? It's like in a ball, right? Even when we're playing rec ball, we slumping from outside. What's the best way to get back in rhythm? Get to the cup. And they gotta get back to that. And that's from a lot of teams too. We could talk about a lot of teams like that, but it's like get to the bucket. You can't shoot, right? Then you got to be able to get to the bucket. You got guys who can get to the bucket too. So like get a bucket. That's the name of the name of the pod is get a bucket, right? Get a bucket. Facts. I see too much reliance on the three and all that, and I get it. That's how the game of basketball is translated to and all that. And thanks Steph Curry to that because he changed the whole game and all that. But sometimes it's just like, yo, let's just get a bucket. Like we can't shoot from the outside. Let's just get to the basket and all that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with TCU. But it's a disappointing start to the season for them so far, man. Disappointing start, and they got to figure it out because they can't be with Milwaukee and all these teams in the bottom of 3-point shooting. You got to be better, especially if you want to compete in the Big 12. We just saw Texas just lay the wood on Gonzaga. Just lay it on Gonzaga, and then Big 12 is a bunch of dogs. They got dogs out there, so
bunch of them.
they got dogs out there. So, are there any other teams that early in the season that are kind of like I didn't expect some of these performances.
Not really. Those are the main ones I say. I mean, Villanova lost a tough one to Temple, but it's like
Yeah.
I respect them for even playing that game because if you're in the area, you know that's a rivalry. That's a crosstown rivalry, and that game was personal. Shout out to Aaron McKee for getting that win, but
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not too mad at it. Like yeah, theoretically Villanova is still a blue blood because of Jay Wright, but at the end of the day, like to go into a rival territory and go in an away game and go into the belly of the beast, I respect it. So I'm not too worried about that. I did watch Dayton lose to I was at UNLV yesterday, but I'm not too worried about that game that they kind of needed. They kind of needed to get hit on the chin, and that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be one of the games that kind of fuels their season down the line. So I think the teams we hit on between Florida State, Louisville, and TCU have just been like, y'all need to be better. I don't even want to talk about Syracuse too much. They lost to Colgate.
Oh, it's a wrap for
They're
them.
yeah,
It's over
Jim
for them.
Boeheim.
They ain't getting
I'm not
coming.
gonna give him too much attention, but
Nah,
yeah,
it's over for them.
we hit on we hit, yeah.
They ain't getting Kion. They ain't getting him. Like it's over for Syracuse, man. I think it's a wrap. Like I think Boeheim's been sitting on that 2003 national championship for 20 years too long. Like it's been like you won that championship 20 years ago, my guy. Like we can't just keep saying you won the Natty in 2003. A long time ago, I think, and like some disappointed performance. Like it's time. It's time. Syracuse it isn't what it was before. So I know Kion. If people don't know Kion Anthony Carmelo's son just got an offer from them, and
Yep.
I kind of felt like Carmelo was like, that's cute. He ain't going to Syracuse, guys. He ain't going to
Please don't,
Syracuse,
Melo.
and he's only yeah.
Junior,
He's
I
only a
think,
sophomore too, so
or sophomore. Yeah,
right, sophomore, yeah, he's sophomore,
one of them.
junior, 15,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, he's still an underclassman, so like he's gonna get better and develop, and he's gonna get better offers. So he's not going to Syracuse, guys. He's not going to Syracuse. So he got the offer. That's cute, but he ain't going to Syracuse. He ain't following Pop. He ain't going there. But yeah, Syracuse. It's tough out there. But let's talk about Sparty, and you're obviously you're a Spartans fan and all that, and obviously they played on, they play Gonzaga, they were on the ship, which is it's a you guys played the last one, right? Where
Yep.
Draymond was
North
still there.
Carolina.
Yeah, you played
Yep.
Carolina. Draymond was there. So that was what 2012, 10
I
years
think it
ago,
was
right?
2011. It might have been
2011, 2012, whenever Draymond was
something like
last there.
that.
So yeah. So
Yep.
that sounds around that timeline. I just think it's a dope. The aesthetics of it. Like I know you see the beginning, you saw the glare, so I could like if we see the glare, I could imagine the players are like, "Yo, this is crazy," because obviously you're on the ocean and the sun is nothing can't block it because there's nothing to block it. But
Mm-hmm.
just as a fan, like be watching it, I was like, "This is cool." Though. Like you got the glare right now, but it's gonna go away. But it's like to play on a ship like that. I think that's really cool. I wish they do that more. I think that's just a dope atmosphere. It's literally something that doesn't happen a lot. So as a fan, you know and you seeing your team, I know you were young for the last time, but like, how did you like the experience of watching it on the air, was it aircraft, or was it like an aircraft ship,
Carry.
a
Yep.
carrier
Aircraft
ship? Yeah.
carrier.
So like,
Yep.
how did you like the experience of watching it, as a fan?
I thought it was dope. I know a lot of people were kind of against it because the last time in the game that they had a little condensation issue and a
Yeah.
couple guys got hurt, so it was like dangerous. And like theoretically, it is kind of dangerous to just play outside
Yeah.
because you just never know. Like dudes was bricking shots that could have been because it was a slight breeze or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to use any excuses, but it goes both ways. But
Mm-hmm.
personally, I like it. It took place on Veterans Day. You're honoring the troops. The crowd was lit for both sides.
Yeah.
And I like, and most importantly, it went all the way down to the wire. It was back and forth. It was two heavyweight programs. It went the full 12 rounds,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed it. It sucks we didn't come out with the win, but I like what my team showed. I think we showed the country that we're way better than anybody thought we were. Knew we were going to be
Facts.
better than people thought we were. But it was a good game. Drew Timmy dominated in the second half. Madi Sissoko came out and just put the country on notice that he's a big that y'all need to watch out for.
Hey
And
man, him and Oscar yesterday, man, that was fun. And
we gonna get into it.
You saw him. We're gonna get into that next, but you just like I love his energy because he took that personal, that matchup. And listen, he got to it, but like Oscar's a tough. I mean, he's gonna dominate in his way, but that was a fun matchup, and you saw legit skill from him. Where you're like, oh, okay, all right, well, there's some potential, next level stuff with him. Like he showed a lot.
Exactly. And so with that game, man, like I just love that, again, for the troops, the whole scenery, like you said, the aesthetic is just beautiful. Like some of the pictures that you get to see are just second to none. The jerseys were fire. The camo jerseys were crazy. So all in all, like the players, it seemed like they had a good experience. I think that's what it's all about. And I loved it. It was the first big heavyweight matchup of the season, and it was a great game.
Yeah, it was a good game. You guys were up 8-9 points, 10.5, and then like you said, Drew Timmy, and it felt like you guys had Timmy on lock in the first. Like he was missing bunnies, like he was missing, like you guys really stifled them. And in the second half, I mean, I see it this way: if Hauser was shooting the ball the way he did yesterday at the carrier, at the air carrier, like you guys win that game. He only had 2 points. I think 2-3 points. Didn't shoot obviously didn't shoot the ball well at all. If he even has half of what he had yesterday, you guys probably come away with that W. That, but it was a great game to watch. It was that simple. It was a great game to watch. But Timmy was doing his thing. He was doing his thing in the second half, but it was a great game, and that's what you wanted, right? You wanted a great game. I know for you rather have been the other side of that, but watching it, it was a great visual. It was very cool. I can imagine how dope it was probably to be on that. Obviously outside, it's the elements and all that. You gotta, adjust to that, but still a dope experience, and it showed that Michigan State is the fact that they were unranked, I think is, even if they're in a 20 to 25 range, it should have been there. And after that, they showed that. And then obviously we saw what happened yesterday. It led to, them beating Kentucky and all that. And let's go right into that. Big win against Kentucky and all that. And like, obviously the matchup is going to be inside, right? We do Oscar's playing, and he showed quick. It felt like in the first 5-7 minutes, he had almost like a double. It felt like he had 7 and 7 already in 7 minutes of play. Like it was just he was establishing that. But you guys kept fighting. You guys fought. Like that was another game that was just so much fun. With double overtime we got, like I said, it probably messed up my Dookies, but because we were waiting out there, they kept showing them, in the in the tunnel just waiting and all that, but it had everyone on their feet. Even the score looks a lot worse than what it would think. This double overtime, I mean, just Kentucky just had nothing left. I mean, they were kind of spent, and you guys just had the more energy. And I'm a little worried about Kentucky though. I am worried about Kentucky a little bit, and we can get into that. But just talk about the matchup with Kentucky and just what you liked, what you saw. Obviously, we talked about Hauser not doing anything against Gonzaga. It was the complete opposite. That man looked like a pro. He looked like his brother. He was a sniper, right? He looked like a brother. Like the Hauser brothers are just, snipers, But what did you like from Michigan State, in this matchup? You got, like I said, it was a battle, interior, with Oscar and all that. And you guys really, Hauser did his thing and all that. So talk to me about this game.
Man, I'll just say you can stop me if I start ranting right now because I got a lot to get off my chest. But
say what you guys say, King.
It starts off with that. Everything that I said in the summer about this team came to fruition in this game, and that's why I was happy because it was more than just beating Kentucky. It was proven to the media that we were better. And even to a certain extent, it was proven to our base who was kind of down on this team that we are here. Like, we are
Yep.
a good team. And I try to tell people, like, everybody falls in love with the transfer portal nowadays and this and that. As I said, like, all that's good, but I already made it to the dudes that I already got on this roster right now. So we didn't hit the transfer portal, and everybody was mad at him for that. They said we were too small. They said we had a lot of unknowns. And I said, okay, we're going to see, right? And the thing that I loved about this team going into the season is that our backcourt can literally compete with any backcourt in the country between AJ Hogard, Tyson Walker, who's from your way, and Jaden Akins, who's not even fully healthy yet. If he's healthy, he's going to be a problem. And he had a good first half for us, kind of quiet in the second half, but still he just
he looks so skilled. Like he had some moves where I'm like, oh, this guy looks like a pro. He looks like a pro. Like he was getting to the basket. He had his handles was looking good. Like you said, first half he looked really good.
And he's probably honestly he is our best NBA draft prospect, and I think he's gonna be in the NBA sooner or later. And so with that though, like, I knew Kentucky was gonna give us a battle. Again, like, they didn't start some of their best players because they were trying to ease Oscar in. But like you said, when Oscar came in, Cal knew, like, okay, I got to play this dude as much as possible because he's National Player of the Year. He's going to give us the best chance to win any single game, right? And I thought our defense did amazing. Like, Antonio Reeves and CJ Frederick, those are their shooters, quote unquote. They did not play that well, and we did a great job of defending them. Exactly. You know, CJ had 1-3 that was kind of big to put them up 4 late in the game, but you know, it didn't rattle us. And so my biggest issue was that a lot of people were talking about, oh, if Kentucky makes some free throws, they win the game. I'm like, I don't know about that because Kassan Wallace, he had a great game, by the way. I want to give him a lot of credit. He had 8 steals or something like that. Just disruptive. He's a problem. I love everything about his game. And it's a couple free throws in regulation, at the end of regulation, and the first OT. But I told Kentucky fans, like, both them free throws were only to put the game up one possession. Even if he were to make them, it still would have been a 3-point game with plenty of time left to get down the. My biggest thing was that in overtime and at the end of regulation, and especially in double overtime, we executed better down the stretch than Kentucky. That's what won us the game. That inbound play that Izzo had.
I was about to say that. I think that might be one of the best. That might be one of the best. Plays.
Izzo was so deep in his bag. Yep. I was like, bro, I don't even know how they came up with that, but that play.
That's where coaching comes in. See, like, coaching could be overrated, right? During the game sometimes, but like, to me, in crucial moments, that's where I want my coach to be. You know, that's where you need your coach to be. That dude is those moments, out of timeout plays, all that, like, inbounds, like, that's where I want to see the great coaching. And during the game, like, the players need to figure out everything. But when it's crucial, when it's tie game or it's a close game, you're down by, and you need to figure out, you know, rotation. Okay, I need this. That's where coaching, and that's why Izzo. I know people could get on him. Oh, he only got one natty and all that, and it to me is different than Boeheim. It's way different from Boeheim. Like, at least Michigan State's getting to the Final Fours and all that. Like, at least they're doing that. You know, it's a big difference in my opinion and all that. But that play was like, that was beautiful.
Next level.
It was just beautiful. You know, it was just, and it just, the defense you guys played, like, Kentucky didn't shoot the 3 ball well. I think they shot 28% or something like that, below 40% overall. And I think that's something I am that worried about with Kentucky going down the line. But you guys, you know, you guys starters played a lot of minutes. The bench didn't really, you know, really do much, you know, but you guys looked more prepared for that. Like, it just looked like you guys were especially once you get towards and you just tired and all that. I understand, but you guys are just more physically fit. Like, just little things like that showed out in those two, especially when you get to overtime and all that. And I think that's going to bode well for you guys going down the line. And a lot, Kentucky still got some guys like that, just disappointment, you know, they still got some guys where you're like, oh wow, like, they haven't shown. Collins is like, okay, like, he didn't do anything and all that. And like, where, like, you know, Toppin still had some he had some moments, but a lot of fouls. And I know people would be like, "Oh, they were ticky tack and all that," but you know, he shows that burst like his bro, but it's like there's sometimes he has some miscues and all that, and Oscar gets fouled out and all that, but and that's gonna be worrisome if that happens, for them in big games because it's a big drop off.
And
It's
that's what I want to hit on right there is
yep.
that my issue with them is that you just hit on both the biggest things that I gotta expound upon. The fans love hearing about these 5-star recruits and all these different things, especially in the offseason. Everybody sounds like an amazing player in the offseason, but when the real
Mm-hmm.
season comes and it's actually time to get onto the floor and lace them up, it's a whole different story. And I don't even want to
Mm-hmm.
just single this dude out, but I gotta say it. Chris Livingston was a non-factor in last night's game. He started. People forget he started and literally did not do
Enough.
anything. This was a dude that was going to be a lottery pick for a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just make it seem like I'm bashing him, but I just got to be honest. Like that's why I kind of hate ranking sometimes because it's like we praise these kids so much and we give them these high expectations, and as soon as they don't live up to it for even just one game, we tear them down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't like to gas them up too much because it's toxic to a point. And I look at that, and then like you said, well, Oscar found out. I knew we were gonna win though. You could see their body language was just dejected, and that's the problem with them last year is that they lived and died with Oscar. Everything was
Yeah.
Oscar, 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 and I'm just like, this is Kentucky. Cal's
Mm-hmm.
always bragging about getting these 5-star recruits, but where were they at last night? And again, Kason or I want to keep him right. Kason Wallace had a good game, even though he had some turnovers at the end of the game. Is what it is. Severe Wheeler played pretty well. Outside of that, as you mentioned, Jacob Toppin was supposed to take this big leap. It's still early in the season, so I'm not going to go too crazy. But he played well for like the first 5 minutes, and outside of that, he got in foul trouble. But then he was a non-factor. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's my issue with Kentucky. It's like I don't want to hear about y'all always recruiting these big time dudes just for them to be quiet. Because before this game, when they played Howard and Duquesne, it was like, oh, all these players look amazing, and then they play a
Mm-hmm.
Power Five school, and then it's like it's a complete different story. So I'm just like, I have some of the same concerns you do, but to me, it's just like if your national player of the year is found out, yes, that's a big loss. But at the same time, this is Kentucky. All y'all do is brag about how y'all recruit better than Duke, Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
Kansas. Where are these dudes at? Like, that's all
That's
I'm
what I'm.
saying. Like,
And it feels like the last few years, like yeah, I mean, it looks nice, right? It looks nice. You
yeah.
got a top 2, top 3, top 5 recruiting class, but like they had the whole issue with Shaden Sharp last year, right? Couldn't play and all that, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that hurt not having him because if he's there, I mean, we might be talking about Shaden Sharp being, we had Paolo go one. He might be been in discussion for the number 1 pick.
Yep.
Definitely top 3. He's not going 8 or 7 wherever he went to the Blazers. He's going higher than that. But who knows with Cal because he don't know how to use guards at times. So, and we're seeing that. It's we're seeing that again. Like they got dogs because Wallace is a top 10 recruit. Livingston top 15 recruit. You know, you know, it feels like it's the same story with Cal and like he could recruit, but what's happening that you're not? These guys aren't living up like just 10 years. Guys were living up. You were getting them on picks. I don't know. I don't know if he's lost his. People have always questioned like the X's and O's with Cal, right? It's like he can
Mm-hmm.
recruit. He can recruit, but it's in that's why he only has one natty. You know, and he should have more. He should have way more.
With that talent, he should have more than
That's
one
what
national
I
championship.
mean, Kev. We could do a whole show on the Kentucky. Right? We always show like, whose team would you rather? Team Kentucky, Team Duke, Team Kansas, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, oh, Kentucky. They got all these guys, and we're seeing all these guys. SGA is going off right now. Booker, Anthony Davis, like all these dudes, Cat, and it's just like it could be the same. And like I kind of worry about, his rotations, the shooting, because you guys stifled them and all that. And like the reliance on Oscar. Because if he gets in foul trouble, which it's gonna happen, and we saw yesterday, like I just wonder about Kentucky. I just wonder about Kentucky. So but that was a good win for you guys. You guys are obviously gonna get ranked, because you only
Hmm.
had the 1 point loss to Gonzaga and all that. But you guys are gonna be ranked, and that's it's a good win for you guys. Very good win. And but a little bit worried about Kentucky. A little bit because it just feels like they have too much talent and he just doesn't know what to do. And like guys are getting flustered and all that. And it's just like, he's got to figure that out. He's got to figure that out because or else they'll get bounced in the first round again like they did last year.
And with
So
that, like I'm gonna keep it easy on Damian Collins because he had a sudden loss in his family with his
yeah,
pops
yeah,
passing away. So
yeah.
I want to keep that in mind. But for us, I just want to say before we get on to the next game is that I was just proud that every single time they went on a run, we did not fold. We didn't hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get worried. We came right back. Tyson Walker was huge in crunch time. Like
Yeah.
AJ Hogard did not play good last night. I think he had like 8
Nah.
turnovers.
He was bad.
Kaysen kept icing the ball screens. He didn't know what to do. He was so lost,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to take him out. And Tyson Walker, being a point guard for us last year, he was like, "Okay, I'm comfortable doing this. I could run the show," and he did that. It's such a luxury when you're starting 2 point guards because you can go to either one to run plays through and for. And I was just happy for us, man. We play Villanova Friday, another test at the crib, but to get that win, that was a program and a statement game that we really needed.
But Sissoko, man, let's give props to I know
Whew.
Hauser did his thing. I know Hauser
Yep.
balled out and he made some big shots. I know Malik Hall was good, but Sissoko, like he battled with Oscar. That's just as important. Yeah, he didn't get blocks and all that, and there was a lot of plays where Oscar just bodied him and all that, but he battled. He battled. He didn't give up and all that. He kept battling. I think that's important because he wound up getting Oscar in foul trouble and all that. And Oscar, that was huge, huge. And so you got to give him props because he went in and he was with it. He was with
And
it.
the most important thing too was that I think he picked up his fourth foul. I want to say with like 4 minutes left in regulation, and he
Mm-hmm.
stayed in the game and he played all the way through the first overtime and the second overtime. So that's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
shout out to Marty, man. He really holding it down. If he keeps playing like this, that puts us from a good team to an elite team, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, and I think you guys are gonna be, you know, like I said, you're gonna get ranked, and it's just gonna continue to get better for you guys. It's just crazy how you guys weren't ranked. I think that's kind of wild. I think even with the talent, you guys are a ranked team. I don't understand how you guys weren't ranked, but you'll be ranked now. You'll be ranked now. So
For sure.
double overtime, hell of a finish, led to the next game. They had to wait. They had to wait a minute. We had to wait a minute, but we got Kansas and Duke, and it started off very shaky. I mean, at one point, I was like, "Yo, this is bad." So I think it was 17-6 at one point. Duke couldn't find anything. It looked really bad. Comeback and all that, but they wound up losing. I think 69-64. Just and I've had my worries about this Duke team, and we obviously the biggest thing is there's no Coach K, and we talked about that, so we won't go crazy into that. But obviously Derek is out, and I don't know when he'll be back. He has with the foot injury, so we
Hmm.
don't know when he'll be back. It just seems like without him there, and that's their guy, right? That's going to be their number one guy. It just seemed like there's no direction on who that guy is right now. And we talked about this before is like Duke is used to having top classes, but they have that one guy that you're like, all right, we got these other guys and all that, but we always have that one guy that we know is going to be a top 3 pick and going to take over as a freshman, right? They always have that guy. Zion, Paolo, Bagley, Tatum,
Tatum, Ingram.
Ingram, they
Hmm.
always have that one guy that's like, all right, we got other good guys, but we got that one guy that we know, okay, when we need a bucket, they're gonna get a bucket. And no matter how they get, they're gonna get it. Without Derek, they don't have I know Flipowski played solid, but Kev, I don't know. This Duke team, I think, is still going to be a competitive team. I think they'll be a good team. They'll be, finish top three, top two. Well, the ACC, they might win the ACC simply off because the ACC sucks. But but it's like I worry about this team tournament time. I could see an early bounce simply because they don't have that guy that can get a bucket like Roach. Yeah, he played good last year, but that's because we had Paolo and AJ Griffin and we had pros. It's different this year, so it's like I don't know. From how did you see it from a non-Duke perspective?
Man, everything that we pretty much said came to fruition, man. Like, it's a young team, inexperienced team, and with Jeremy Roach, is like he can be a scorer. I don't want to get it twisted or misconstrued, but for this team, because they're so youthful and inexperienced, he has to be that floor general. He has to put guys
Yeah.
in the right spots.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be that captain. And I'll be honest, I was very much surprised by Kyle Filipowski. He's a lot better. Like, I seen him play when he was on the EYBL playing for the New York Rens, but he looks like he got taller a little bit. He looks like he's kind of more leaner. He's lankier than I thought he was. And he kind of just looks like a college player. And so he has some good moments. Tyrese Proctor is a guy that struggled, but I think he's going to be fine. It's going to take him some time because of the role that he's in. But to me, I said this plenty of times, Mark Mitchell's the biggest key for you guys. And he has some moments too. But for him, like being that 6'8" power forward that can feed off Lively and Kyle, he's going to be the biggest and most important cog for Duke this entire season. You guys, more than any freshman outside of Derek, you guys need Mark Mitchell to come around. And I think he will. It's going to take a little bit of time, just like the rest of them. They're freshmen at the end of the day. Like, I feel like sometimes we forget that because they get these 5-star labels and they're just automatically supposed to come. Like, people got to understand, regardless of what you're ranked at in high school, it is a humongous jump from whatever level of high school basketball you're playing to Division I grown men athletes that have been on strict diets in the weight room, putting in the work and knows what it takes to win. So
100%.
I think I completely agree and understand your concerns and questions with them. Like you said, you guys didn't get the calls that Coach K used to get, and Coach K earned them. Of course, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, but it's different now. They're gonna make you earn all of them. It's not gonna come as easily. So you got to give credit to Kansas too, man. Kansas put on a pretty good performance. Jalen Wilson, he had a good game, even though he shot a whole bunch of times. I think he shot damn near 40 times or something like that. That's what it felt like. At least.
That man shot every time he got the ball. He shot the ball. Like I think he took 26 shots, and he obviously it wasn't efficient and all that, and he missed every three he took. But if you just watching the eye test, you're like, oh my god, the improvement this kid make. Like that's why like people were like salivating over this kid last year, and like he came back and people were like, if he puts it together. And we talked about him, right? I mentioned him. Like, if Kansas is going to take that next step, it's probably going to be because of Jalen Wilson. And he looks like a pro. Like, he looks like he can be a lottery pick. Like, he just looks skilled. Yeah, he needs to work on the efficiency and the shot selection because there was sometimes he took a 3 yesterday that was like, and you could see him laughing at it, like he airballed it and he's just laughing. Like, it was like once he figures that part out, he's going to be a good one, but Kansas. We're talking about Grady Dick. Like, I'm like, whoa, this kid, like, he looks super skilled too. Like, that baseline move he have, it's like, whoa, okay, all right, okay. Maybe we underestimated Kansas a little bit. Maybe we underestimated them a little bit, but but also, they played good defense. Duke also took, some bad shots. Even Jacob Grandison didn't look good. You expect him, being a upperclassman and all that. He had a couple of air balls and all that, but it's tough. They played a good team and all that, and it's a learning experience. But they're super young. Like we have to. Duke fans need to understand they are so young. This got to be one of the youngest Duke teams that I can recall, like where it's just all freshmen, essentially all freshmen like that are, and you don't even have maybe your best freshman on the court right now who could be that guy that we talked about to be there, and that's why I'm not going to get too hard. I guess I still have my worries even with Derek there, but I think with Derek, you have that guy that could take over a game and get you a bucket, and that just opens up everything else. So I won't judge him too hard, because they could have won this game too, which is crazy. They could have
Exactly.
won this game. As bad of a start as they had to this basketball game, Kev, they had a chance to win this game, and then Kansas just pulled ahead late and get the 5-point win. But I can't. They need to read back though. They need him.
They do. Yeah.
They need him bad.
But
They
I
need
want to
him
say though,
bad.
like to me, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but me personally, I do think it is such a thing as quote unquote moral victories and good losses. Like it's a way to lose, And I think for Kentucky and Duke, this is going to be a valuable learning lesson down the line because
I think we lost Kev there, and we'll get Kev back. But that Duke, you know, uh, Duke is going to need Roach to really get these guys going, and they need Jacob Grandison to step up. He did not have a good game yesterday, so he's going to need to step up. Need some more from Jalen Blakes. Didn't shoot. They just didn't shoot the ball well at all. They didn't shoot the ball well at all, and they're going to need to improve on that with their shooting. And even overall in the season, they just haven't looked crisp. You know, they just haven't looked crisp yet. But like I said, they're very young. Very young. Even some of the against Jacksonville early first game, little but they're young and all that, and I expect that. But if I'm going to play the other side of the, but if I'm going to play the other side, they could have won this basketball game. They definitely could have won this basketball game. And if they just shot the ball a little bit better, they get through it. Because it's not like Kansas was, like I said, as much as we want to compliment, Jalen Wilson, he shot 11 of 26 and then hit a three. I mean, they didn't shoot the three ball. They only made 3 threes. This wasn't a game where you wanted to see perimeter shooting at all. Perimeter shooting was optional. There's only 6 threes made in this game. I mean, both teams combined for 6 threes on, I believe, 40 attempts. So this was an ugly game, but a game that you I think Kev's right. You could take, you could take away some good things from this game. And there's a lot that John Shire and company are going to be able to show the young guys and all that. And I think this could be a good thing for us. Obviously losing sucks. Get me wrong, losing sucks, but this could be something that can propel them. But it's hard to judge this team without Derek. Derek is, to me, there's their best scorer. He's someone that is potentially a top 3 to 5 pick from a lot of guys in the draft war that I trust, that really like Derek being that third guy, right? You talk about Scoot, you talk about Wemby. Some people have Derek as that third guy. So that's going to be, it's a tough loss as a fan and all that, but there's takeaways. There's a lot of good takeaways from this game that you're really looking, you're really looking forward to watching them progress for the rest of the season. Now one thing they also have to do is finish around the rim better. They got 13 of their shots blocked. So there's a lot of things they need to work on in order to get better, going ahead for the rest of the season. But they need some of their older guys to step up. Jacob Grant has to be better. Has to be better. So some good things, from this game. Obviously some things they need to work on. Just more, you need to see some more passing. They didn't have a lot of assists. I think they only had 8 assists and all that. So I don't want to harp on them too much. There's maybe some of the fan in me inside just disappointed with the loss, but it was tough, just tough, man. That was tough. That was definitely tough. But I just think I'm not worried about them so much regular season. I think with the ACC, like we just talked about the ACC being down, I think they'll do enough to, to get it done in the ACC, be a top 2 team in the ACC. But I think come playoff, tournament time, that's where some of my concern. But like I said, Kyle Filipowski didn't shoot the ball well, but he looked, just the eye test makes you think like, okay, he's better than what we, than what I thought, than what a lot of people thought. I thought a lot of people weren't high on him. Weren't, even though he was a top 5 recruit, people weren't wild high on him, but he looked the part. He looked the part. He looked like he's going to be, an all ACC first team type player. So good things from Kyle. Definitely a lot of good things. They, just got to find who's going to be that guy. I don't like Roach taking 17 shots. I know he's our, he's our leader and all that, but you rather been that, that 10 to 12 range of anything. But he kind of had to, because nobody else was really doing much other than him and Flipowski. So can't wait till he gets back. Proctor, looked all right. We need more consistency for Proctor, but this is a very young team. Very young team. So I can get mad about some of the things they did, but I understand. Very young team. We got to figure things out. And I think, we'll figure it out once we get Derek back. This team will look a lot better. So we'll see. It was but we definitely got a lot better games than than we got in the first than we got in the first few games of the season. So this dude, the ACC down, Tennessee too. Tennessee took a tough loss, and that's something me and Kev. Well, if he gets back, we'll try to get into that. But when we'll see what Kev back, good old Wi-Fi. It happens, bro. Wi-Fi goes down and all that. But we got some recruiting news. We're not gonna be that much longer anyway on the podcast. And this podcast is also brought to you by SeatGeek, is the newest partner of the Off the Ball Network. Make sure to go to SeatGeek.com. Use promo code Off the Ball Network for $20 off your first purchase. You want to go to college basketball? You want to go see Duke? You want to go see Michigan State? You want to go see St. John's? You want to go see any team? You want to go see a play? Broadway, take your lady to Broadway play and all that. SeatGeek, promo code Off the Ball Network, $20 off your first purchase. Your first purchase, $20 off. You get some $25 tickets, boom, you're going to pay $5. Promo code Off the Ball Network. But this has been a great show. Dove into a lot of great topics. Teams struggling. We mentioned Louisville. We mentioned, Louisville, man. Some tough losses by the Ville. FSU, early season struggles. TCU, man, the Horned Frogs, man. I mean, they beat Texas in football, but they're undefeated in football, man. I thought we'd have potentially have double national champions and all that. But it is it was a they need Mike Miles back. Get Mike Miles back, and working on perimeter shooting for TCU is something that desperately they need. But and some recruiting news. DJ Wagner going to Memphis. Huge pickup for them, and it's kind of been the consensus. We had our guy Ramon on that he was in on the Ville. He was in on the Ville, and he stuck with his guns, but Louisville finished second. And so tough week for Louisville. Tough week with Louisville. So we got Isaiah Collier too, just committed to USC. In some places he is the number 1 recruit in the country. So today he announced he's going to USC. So that was a huge news. Bay File, also I think it was yesterday. Yeah, I believe yesterday, Tuesday, he decides he's going to Arkansas. So Arkansas picks them up a big time recruit. So that's essentially a lot of the I think AJ Johnson is another one that's I don't know when his commitment is coming. I think it's between like Texas and I forgot who else is in there. Isaiah Miranda. Who else? I think as far as like the top guys, oh Bronny, obviously we don't know where Bronny's going. I think Bronny's Ohio State bound or Oregon. I think he's either Ohio State or Oregon. Obviously Ohio State from Ohio. That kind of makes sense, for him to go to Ohio State, Oregon because of that Nike connection with Pops. So those are the three big recruits and left in the 2023 class. I think Isaiah Miranda is either I think G League or USC, if I recall. Let me read my notes. Yeah, USC and the G League. And if you go to G League, he'll go with that dude Buzelis. What's his name? Matis Buzelis. That's who's going to the G League, and so some big names, announcements and all that. So that's huge, and DJ Wagner, obviously the huge. I need to get this. I need to figure a way to go watch some because Jersey got some hoopers, man. Jersey's got some hoopers, and I gotta figure a way to get to Jersey because Kentucky got two Jersey dudes, Brasho and DJ Wagner, Aaron's from Rahway. I've been there a lot for a lot of events, so I got to make sure I get there, watch him play, and then DJ too. So I definitely got to make my way over there and watch those boys play. There's a few other Jersey dudes that are pretty nice in this class too. The kid that was going to UNC, he's nice. They got a few other guys. I can't think of the name. I'm horrible with names, by the way. Horrible with names. But that's gonna cap it off for Get a Bucket. Kev's Wi-Fi, he got the McDonald's Wi-Fi. So but we had a great show, broke down a lot of great stuff. Sparties are up. Duke, we'll figure things out, hopefully. We'll see if LSU, TCU, FSU figures their things out. And another great week, college hoops. So that's episode 5, the Get a Bucket podcast with me, Chris LeBron. Kev, he's not here right now, but he appreciates everyone showing love to the podcast. Make sure to go on Apple, Spotify, drop 5 stars, rate, subscribe, whatever. Show any love. Appreciate anyone. Episode 6 next week. Appreciate everyone. Peace, love. Go make sure to follow me off the ball pod. Go follow Kev. I think it's at Kevo. I don't know exact handle, but you guys know where Kev is. One of the best, most talented basketball minds in the biz. He makes his show that much easier. So make sure to follow us. Make sure to follow Off the Ball Network, OTB Network on Twitter, offtheballnetwork.com. Got a lot of dope stuff coming. So check us out. Be well. We got potentially some great guest lineups. So make sure to follow us, and we'll break that down. So on that note, be well, be safe, take care, guys. Peace out.